All right, so for this game, looks like we have what is just a standard sequencing game. We have, what, 7? Yeah, 7 elements to work with, so we'll set this up accordingly. And then the elements themselves, of course, we have P, Q, R, S, and then we've got T, V, and W. And from there, I mean, nothing really out of the ordinary, pretty much just a straight one-to-one kind of setup. Let's take a look at the rules. So the first rule says that S has to be neither immediately before or after T. So basically, S and T just cannot be consecutive in either direction. Next, Q has to go earlier than R, so we have to have Q before we have an R. Next, V has to go immediately before W, so we have a VW sort of block. And lastly, P, oh, that's good, P has to go fourth. It's always nice to have exact positions, which I suppose that kind of restricts the VW block to a certain degree. I mean, not that much, but we know that no matter what, it's going to kind of go on one side or the other, and it's going to cross over the middle somehow. Either it's going to be, for example, if it's on the left, it's going to go 1, 2, or it's going to go 2, 3. Basically, or on the other side, it's going to go 5, 6, or 6, 7. Essentially, whichever side it goes on, it's only going to leave you with one kind of space remaining there. But still, that leaves quite a bit of flexibility here. And that's kind of an ugly 4, so let's adjust that. Let's take a look at the questions themselves. So the first question here is a standard exclusion question, so we do these by the original set of rules. So the first rule says that S and T cannot be consecutive. Let's see, answer choice A already violates that. B has them separated, C has them separate, D does as well, and so does E. Next, Q has to go before R, so B looks okay, C looks okay, D looks okay. E, however, does not. We have Q last, which is not going to work, so E is out. Next, V has to go right before W, so we need to see a VW block. So answer choice B is already out. Answer choice C and D both have VW. And lastly, we have to have P in 4, which would disqualify what looks like C, where P is in 5. So the best answer here is answer choice D for question number 1. And as usual, let's just plug that into the board. So D gives us VWS, followed by PQTR. All right, so from there, let's take a look at the locals. So the first local question here is number 3. Let's take a look. We have, if T happens to be second, so if we have T in 2, well, I mean, as usual, of course, P has to go in 4. So this is kind of what I mentioned earlier. You'll notice that the VW block, there's no way to fit it on this side of the board, so now it's going to have to go somewhere over there. Oh, and wait a minute. We also know that S can't go next to T, so S is also going to go somewhere over there. So what's going to happen is we're going to have VW splitting with the S somewhere along these positions. And that just leaves us with Q and R, and these guys are going to have to go into 1 and 3, respectively. So let's go. The question now asks what could be true. Q3, nope. Can we have R5? And nope, wrong side. Answer choice C, can we have S in 6? And no, you'll notice that if you put S into 6, it would force you to split up the VW block, and we can't do that. Answer choice D, V in 6. And maybe we could have an S in 5 followed by VW 6, 7. That's actually viable. And E, can we have W3? And no. So the best answer to question number 3 is D. Next, question number 4 is our next local, which says, if Q is immediately before R. So if we happen to have a QR block, effectively, well, I suppose what that would mean is that it's going to go on the opposite side of the VW block, right? Because we can't fit this block and that block on the same side of the P. So one side is going to have a QR block, the other side is going to have a VW block. And I suppose the S and T will just, one will go with one block and then the other will go with the other block. But really, they could still kind of flip either way, couldn't they? I'm not sure we can do much more. Let's see, maybe that's enough information. So the question itself asks, where can S not go? Well, essentially, since we know that the VW block and the QR blocks are just going to go on this side or that side, essentially, it would be impossible for S to go into 2 and into 6, because that would force you to split up the blocks. So, and there we go, we have 2 as an available option. So the best answer to question number 4 is B. Next, question number 5. If W is before R and R is before T, so essentially we get W before R before T, except wait a minute, we also know that Q has to also go before R, so we can line that up. So there's, oh, and wait a minute, we have a VW block as well, so there's quite a bit going on here. Now, as usual, P has to go into 4, but you'll notice that, for example, the VW block, there's no way for it to go on this side, right? Because after the VW block, you're going to have R and T. There's not enough room. So the VW block is going to have to go somewhere on this side. Otherwise, I suppose you could have QRT on the right-hand side. That actually would be okay, and then S could chill over here. But you don't have to. You could have also perhaps had, I mean, T and S can't be next to each other, but you could have done SRT. That also would have been okay. So this is flexible, but you know what? Again, maybe this is enough information. The question asks, what could be true? Could we have Q1? And maybe, I don't see why not. Couldn't we have Q over here followed by VW? And then, as we said, on this side, we could have SRT. That seems very viable. And to be honest, if you're tight on time, it might not be a bad idea to just try it out and confirm it and run with it. But just in case, let's take a look at the rest of these. Can we have R in 3? And actually, yeah, why not? Why couldn't you put an R over here? And then the VW block would go into 1 and 2. And then you could have, oh no, that's not going to work. If you did that, then the Q wouldn't go before the R. So answer choice B is out. Answer choice C, could you do S in 2? And no, because we know that the VW block has to go somewhere here. Putting S into 2 would have split the VW block, so that's not going to fly. Answer choice D, can we do T in 6? And if we put the T into 6, no, that's not going to work. In fact, actually, I suppose based on this, we can actually deduce that T would have to go into 7. Because if you put T into 6, the only person that would have been able to go into 7 is S, because everybody else has to go before the T. But S and T can't go next to each other. So you couldn't actually put T into 6. T has to go into 7. So answer choice D is out. E, could you do V in 6? And no, because, well, there's no way to fit VWRT with V in 6. So the best answer here, as we said, was A. Next, number 6. If W was immediately before Q, so if we happen to have a VW, Q block, essentially, good. So what does that tell us? Well, after the VW Q block, we're going to still have to have an R. So I guess it's going to be VWQ followed by an R. And of course, as usual, the P happens to be in 4. I suppose that means that this block is not going to go 5, 6, 7. So it's going to have to go into 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of nice. In fact, moreover, on this side of the board, we still have to tackle S and T who can't be consecutive. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put R into 6, and that will split S and T into 5 and 7. So the question now asks, where does, or who has to go 6? And that would be R. The best answer to question 6 is B. Lastly, the one global question, number 2. What could have been the middle 5 people? So essentially positions 2 through 7. Okay, fine. Let's go. Let's see what we can do. Answer choice A. Could we do QSPTV? Well, if we did Q, S, and then P, T, and V, the V would be followed by the W, so that actually seems okay. Oh, but who's left? Oh, R is left, and that's not going to fly, right? Because R would have had to go before the Q, and that would have broken. So answer choice A is out. Answer choice B, can we do QSPTW? And, well, no, because the W has to be preceded by the V, so that's not going to work either. Answer choice C, can we do VWPQS? And maybe if we do VWP and then QS, this could be an R because Q is before R, and then 1 would be T, the leftover. And that actually seems pretty safe. Again, if you're tight on time, you can just test it out and just make sure that it works, but this looks pretty legit. Just in case, though, let's take a look at the rest. Answer choice D, VWPRS. So if we did VW followed by PRS, and S. Well, wait, the Q would have had to go before the R, so the Q would end up in 1, and then S in 6 would be with T in 7. That doesn't work, so D is out. E, could we do VWQ? Wait, no, the third person, or really the middle person, cannot be P, so cannot be Q, so answer choice E is out. Best answer to question number 2 is C.